Hello there, and welcome to my new tutorial series where I'm gonna be showing you how to make a multiplayer game using the Steamworks API in Godot. Now, I shared with you all a demonstration of a networked kind of game that I made a few months back on Reddit, and I was glad to see that you guys were really excited about it. And many of you also asked how I did it, so here you go. I hope that you're happy that I'm doing this series, and if you are, then I would very much appreciate if you left a like and subscribed if you want to be notified of future videos. Now, I wanted to take this first episode just to start off talking about what we're going to go through in this series, and after that, we're going to be setting up our project so that it's ready for programming. Firstly, there are plenty of ways to do networking in video games, and this might not be the easiest one. Well, it isn't the easiest one. If you've never done any kind of networking before, I would probably recommend that you try out the built-in networking features in Godot, because they are really easy to play around with, and they give you a pretty good understanding of how multiplayer games actually work behind the scenes. There are plenty of tutorials. I'm pretty sure there's a guide on the official Godot wiki as well, so you might want to check that out. There's also a GD native plugin called Godot Steam that does look very promising, though I haven't used it because it relies on GD script, of course, which is something that I don't normally use. I like to use C#, but this could also definitely be the way to go for you. However, in this series, we're going to be using the Steam API through something called steamworks.net. And we're going to be using the peer-to-peer functionality in the Steam API. It's actually called the Steamworks API. And the peer-to-peer functionality is a great functionality for multiplayer games with few players and for games that doesn't require a server to keep running when all players leave. This would typically be co-operational games, such as what is seen in Dead Space 3, for example. Now, for this series, we're not going to be making an awesome multiplayer game like GTA Online. However, I'm going to be sharing with you how to get going with creating lobbies, joining games and hosting games, using the chat functionality, and sending packets over the Steam network to the players so that we can share data from one client to the other. And we're going to be using C#, and we're going to rely on two libraries. Firstly, the steamworks.net library, which we will use for communicating with Steam through the Steamworks API. And secondly, we're going to be using Google Flatbuffers, which is a library we can use for creating packets that we will send among our game clients. And now again, there are other options that can do the exact same thing, such as facepunch.steamworks and Cap'n Proto, but these are the ones we're going to be using for this series, and these are the ones we're going to be using to get an understanding of how Steam peer-to-peer networking works. Now, in the future, when you have a clear vision for your game, you should pick the libraries that makes the most sense for you. However, Steamworks.net and Flatbuffers are fairly general and can be used, I'd say, for pretty much any peer-to-peer game you'd like to make. But my point is that there are still many options available to you. Now, lastly, I do have a disclaimer that I am not a programmer, and I might make mistakes or say something that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And you are very welcome to correct me if I say anything that's wrong. My point here being that you shouldn't take anything I say as factually correct. I'm not educated in programming. I would actually say I'm a kind of a noob. I just kind of try everything until it works. So please take anything I say with a grain of salt. Usually I actually do 3D modeling, so programming is definitely not my main department, so to say. Okay, so firstly I would like to show you just the demonstration that I also showed on Reddit, just so you guys can see how everything works. I'm just gonna take the audio down a little bit. So I've got a menu here. I can join and host a game. I'm gonna join on this computer, and then I have a laptop besides me where I'm gonna use to invite this Steam user to a new game. 1 second. There you go. You can see down in the corner that I'm invited to a game now, and also the invitation popped up into this table. So, or this tree, it's a Godot tree. So I'm gonna join the selected. Now I need to wait for the host to continue. Alright, so the host continued, and here I can chat with my friend. The friend who is me. Sadly, I don't have any friends. I'm just chatting with myself. Yeah, there we go. So now the host can actually start the game. And from here, it just takes a little bit of time to, the Steam networking needs to connect to the other player. But as you can see in just a second, there we go, the other player moved. So, yeah, the other player can move and I can move around, and of course it works fairly well. It might be lagging a little bit because I'm recording at the same time, but if I weren't doing that, it would work perfectly fine. And as you can see, the other player can move around as well. There we go. Hello. Hello. Alright, so we're not gonna be making anything. We're not gonna be making a fancy menu like this, and we're not gonna be making anything in 3D. Actually, we're gonna keep it in 2D. Just kind of moving some sprites around. You can always expand to 3D. The basic fundamentals are the same. So that's up to you what you want to do with it. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is make a project inside of Godot and get the libraries working. So let's fire up Godot 3.1, which is the one I'm using. You could use one of the other versions, but I'll be using 3.1, the stable version. And let's make a new project. I'm going to call it Steam Multiplayer Tutorial. I'm going to browse for my big drive. I'm gonna select this folder. I'm gonna create that folder inside. Alright, so let's create and edit this. Sweet. So we're just quickly gonna make two folders, one called scenes and another one called another one called scripts. And we're probably gonna be making a few others, but for now these are all we need. Because let's make a really simple node, 2D node, call it main, save it as our main scene, just call it main, that's fine. You can call it whatever you want. So from now on, let's go ahead and install the libraries that we need. And to start out, let's just find our project root, and I have it in here somewhere, Steam Multiplayer Tutorial. So this is my project root, you find yours. We're gonna have to add some files in here. So go to your browser, and the first thing we're gonna add is the steamworks.net library, and it's not located at steamworks.net. You can just Google it and go to the GitHub page, and from here go to installation, and there's some unit instructions, but we're using Godot, so let's go to the release page and download their standalone. Open it in your package manager, and there's if you're on Linux like I am, you are going to want to copy the steamworks.net DLL into your project root folder, and also just do the same if you're on Windows. However, because I'm on Linux, I'm going to use the libsteamapi.so file, drag that into my project root as well. Now, if you were on Windows, you'd have to drag the steamapi64.dll into your project root instead, okay? So, in our project root, we now have steamworks.net.dll and libsteamapi.so, or the Windows version of it, the same library, okay? So let's go back into our browser and find Flatbuffers. Just Google that, go to the first page, and find their GitHub page. Okay, go to releases, and for now, let's just go ahead and download the source code. open that, and now go ahead and find the one called net, because we're using C#. I'm just gonna copy this folder to my desktop. You can do it wherever you want, because we're gonna have to compile this or build it inside of an IDE so that we can get the library into our project. So just open this, and I'm gonna click on the CS project file, which will open MonoDevelop for me. You don't have to use MonoDevelop, you can use whatever you have available. I'm just gonna build it, build all. There we go. I can close it again, go into bin, debug, and here I will find flatbuffers.dll, and this file we are gonna need in our project folder. Okay, so just drag it inside, move that. Great. So now we have steamworks.net, libsteamapi.so, and flatbuffers.dll. And there's actually one thing that I forgot. You can delete this flatbuffers folder. You don't really need it anymore after you have compiled the library or build it. But there's one thing I forgot actually. So just go back into your downloads and find the steamworks.net. And from here we also want steam app id.txt. Okay, just drag it into your folder as well. Did that work? Yeah, there it is. That works. It's the same for Linux and Windows here. So steamworks.net.dll, steam app id, libsteam API, or the Windows equivalent, and flatbuffers.dll. Okay, and the steam app id, all that has is the number 480, and I'll get into what this is later. Yeah, so that's it for now. Actually, it's not. Stay in here. Go into your. Okay, that's not here yet. So now let's go into the. Let's go into Godot. Let's just build real quick, because we need to get our C# solution into our project folder. Okay, so now we have a CS project file. I'm going to open this with kwrite, and this file we're going to use to just tell Godot or the C# solution that we want to use these two libraries, so we're going to have to reference them. Okay, so we already have two references, Godot shop and the Godot shop editor, so we can just copy paste this reference. This is the start reference tag, and this is the end reference tag. Gonna paste it just beneath it. The first library that we want to reference is the Steamworks library, so we're just gonna call it Steamworks, and all this stuff we don't need, so just delete that. You could just copy this one instead. That would be easier instead of doing this one, because this is all Godot stuff that we can't really use with our references. So hint path, this is where the library is located, and that would be inside of our project directory, and it's called steamworks.net.dll. Alright, so that's the first reference done. Copy paste this, copy paste the reference template here again, and then we have another one called Flatbuffers, and that would be also inside of our project directory, flatbuffers.dll. Very good, I think that's it. Yep, so now save this, close it, and let's try and going into Godot, and let's make a new script. Okay, so new script, and right now we're just gonna try and see if this whole Steam library works. Okay, so I'm not gonna explain too much what we're doing, but hopefully it kind of makes sense as you're following. A C# script, we're gonna call it the Steam Manager for now. So we have a new script called Steam Manager, and I'm gonna use some MonoDevelop. So I'm gonna open this, and I'm gonna open my solution, which is located inside of Steam Multiplayer Tutorial. And then I'll just find the solution, this one. I'm gonna open it, and in here I can find my script, steammanager.cs, and let's delete these comments. Don't need those right now. We're gonna start out by, let's just start by seeing if the solution can find our references. You can do this by going to Project, Edit References, and you should have Godot Shop Editor, Steamworks, and Flatbuffers, and the system apparently. And if that's all good, you can add them by writing using Steamworks and using Flatbuffers, so that we're going to use these two libraries in our scripts. However, we don't need Flatbuffers right now, so let's just add using Steamworks, and let's write Steam API.initialize. This initializes the Steam API. That's pretty straightforward. And to see if it all works, let's just quickly print something inside of Steam friends dot get persona name. Okay. So in our ready function, we start by initializing the Steamworks API, and then we print to the Godot output the get persona name from the Steam friends class. Okay. And this should print the current user using the Steam client right now. As you can see, I have Steam open, and you need to have Steam open for this to work. If you don't have Steam open, your game will crash. So I would like to have this script, Steam Manager, to run as soon as my application starts. So we're gonna auto-load it, go into project settings, auto-load. The path is scripts, Steam Manager. I'm going to click add. So the script isn't a part of our tree. As you can see here, it's outside of this tree. So it gets loaded just when we start our game. So let's see what happens. I'm going to select our main scene. And this is my Steam username, okay? So it actually works. So that's really cool. That's all for this episode actually. So we've got the libraries running. We can use it as much as we'd like. So in the next episode, we're gonna take it to the next level and start playing around with it, playing around with everything, and probably not so fun just yet, but we'll get to it.